A father and his blind son went camping in the Colorado mountains and vanished for 5 years. When they were finally found, they told a story no one could believe about a creature they called the stone elephant. The air in the Colorado mountains was thin and crisp, a welcome chill for Jake as he set up their tent. His son, Alex, stood nearby, his face tilted towards the sounds of the forest, his sightless eyes taking in a world felt rather than seen. "Can you hear it, Dad?" Alex asked, his small hand reaching out to touch the trunk of a pine tree. "The mountain is talking. It's just the wind, buddy," Jake chuckled, but a shiver went down his spine. They were camping in an area known as the Whispering Peaks, a place steeped in local folklore about strange disappearances. He had chosen it to be brave, to show Alex that even without sight, you could face anything. That night, a storm swept in with unnatural speed. The wind howled, a sound unlike anything Jake had ever heard, and the ground trembled with a low, guttural roar. Jake grabbed Alex's hand, panic seizing him. "We have to go," he yelled over the noise. They stumbled blindly through the dark forest, the rain turning the trail into a slick, dangerous slope. Just as they rounded a bend, Jake slipped on a patch of wet rock. His grip on Alex's hand was lost, and his son's small body was swallowed by the darkness. "Alex!" Jake screamed, his voice raw with terror, but there was no answer. He searched for hours, falling and rising, calling his son's name until his voice gave out. He was alone. 5 years later, a search and rescue team, mapping a new cave system near the Whispering Peaks, stumbled upon a shocking sight. Tucked inside a small, hidden crevice was a man. It was Jake, weak and disoriented, but alive. He was huddled over something. As the team shined their flashlights, they saw a boy lying beside him. It was Alex. Both were gaunt, covered in dirt, and looked older than their years. But they were breathing. The news of their survival electrified the nation. How could a father and his blind son survive 5 years in a treacherous, unforgiving wilderness? As they recovered in the hospital, the media swarmed them, desperate for answers. The story they told was almost unbelievable. "A creature," Jake whispered to a reporter, his voice still hoarse. "It looked like an elephant, but bigger. It had tusks like curved blades, and its skin was like stone." Alex, clutching his father's hand, nodded. "It saved us, told us where to hide. It brought us food every day. Berries, roots, things we'd never seen before." The creature, they claimed, had disappeared the moment the rescuers arrived. The public was split. Some believed it was a miracle, a testament to the mysterious power of nature. They called the creature the stone elephant and shared the story as a modern legend. Others were skeptical, dismissing it as a shared hallucination from starvation and trauma. The fact that no one else had ever seen such a creature only fueled the debate. After their miraculous rescue, Jake and Alex became national celebrities, their story a mix of hope and mystery. Yet, as they began to heal physically, the psychological scars remained. The stone elephant became a topic of intense debate on television and in online forums. Researchers and cryptozoologists launched new expeditions into the Whispering Peaks, hoping to find evidence of the creature. They found nothing. Alex, now a teenager, struggled with the attention. He was no longer just a boy who couldn't see. He was the boy who had survived with a mythical beast. He often spoke of a deep connection to the forest, describing sounds and sensations that Jake, even with his sight, couldn't comprehend. He'd talk about the mountain's pulse and the song of the wind, things he claimed the stone elephant had taught him. Jake worried it was a sign of trauma, a coping mechanism for the horrors they had endured. One evening, a famous journalist named Sarah, who had been following their story, approached them with a theory. "What if the stone elephant isn't a creature?" She asked gently. "What if it's a person? Someone who lived in the mountains and chose to help you?" She had uncovered old local legends of a reclusive hermit, an old man who had vanished years ago, but was rumored to be a survivalist, living off the land and helping lost travelers. Jake scoffed at the idea. "A man can't do what that creature did. He can't move silently or bring us food we'd never seen." But Alex's reaction was different. He listened intently, his head cocked to one side. "The stone elephant was a teacher," he said softly. "It taught me how to feel the vibrations of the ground, How to know when a storm was coming. It taught me the language of the mountain. The family's private moments began to reveal more. The creature hadn't just provided food. It had guided Alex, teaching him to navigate the forest by the slope of the ground, the scent of the air, and the echoes of sound. For Alex, the stone elephant was the mountain itself, personified. It was his guide, his protector, his world for 5 years. The final piece of the puzzle came from an old, leather-bound journal found in the same crevice where they were rescued. It belonged to the hermit Sarah had mentioned. The journal described the hermit's life, his solitary existence, and his profound love for the wilderness. He wrote about a special connection he felt with the mountains, believing they had a consciousness of their own. One entry, dated 5 years prior, spoke of a broken echo, a term he used for a lost child. He wrote about finding Alex, a boy who could not see, and Jake, the father who refused to leave his son. The hermit had taken them in, not as an act of charity, but as a duty to the mountain. He called himself the mountain's keeper. The journal revealed his methods. He moved silently, using his knowledge of the terrain to find them food and shelter. He didn't speak to them, believing the less human contact, the more they would learn to listen to the mountain's true voice. He wanted to help Alex find a new way to see, to survive using his other senses, to become one with the environment. The stone elephant was the hermit's story, a myth he created to explain his presence to Alex. He knew a creature would be more believable than a stranger in the woods. He was the protector, the one who taught them, not through words, but through actions that seemed impossible to human eyes. The journal ended with a final, poignant entry, explaining that he was growing old and felt it was his time to return to the mountain. Jake and Alex never saw the hermit again. The stone elephant was never a creature, but a man who had become part of the very myth he was trying to protect. He was the mountain's whisper, the wind's song, and the echoes that guided a blind boy and his father back to life.